If you want to become a millionaire before the age of 30, you need to avoid these 3 things. And if you stick with me till the end, I'm going to actually give you one specific thing that will avoid and eliminate the other 3 things. And if you do it, it's basically impossible for you not to win. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Matt Petruso. I am a multiple 7-figure business owner for 2 businesses, both real estate and insurance, but these are industries I knew nothing about. I make these videos because it was just basically a learning process for me. I was not a natural entrepreneur, but becoming a millionaire before the age of 30, I uncovered a lot of things that we weren't taught, and I'm just trying to make these videos so you can eliminate a lot of the headaches and hassles that I had to figure out on my own. So I might lose a lot of people at this first thing that you need to avoid, but that's okay. If you're here and you actually want to win and you want to succeed and you want to become financially free, then you must understand that the number one thing that you must eliminate is alcohol or drugs. So you must avoid this at all costs in your 20s because your 20s are your foundation, all right? So if you don't know my story, growing up, my father was an alcoholic, so I saw the detriment of what alcohol can do to somebody, not only the family, but also their mental, ability to be a father. Then I saw that and I basically was like, all right, my identity is I'm not gonna drink. And it was just basically almost out of luck that I realized later on in life how big of a hack it actually was, because I did not drink, I did not do any drugs in my 20s. And first, let's just actually unpack what is alcohol and what are drugs, right? And you might be like, Matt, I want to have fun, all this other stuff. Why can't I drink alcohol? So let's understand what actually alcohol and drugs are. They are a suppressant of your emotions in the current moment, trying to enhance your current state. But what is an emotion? An emotion is basically stating you don't like the situation you're in. Because if you like the situation you were in, you wouldn't need the alcohol or the drug, right? So I didn't like the situation I was in when I was in my 20s. I wanted to be financially free. I wanted to make money. I wanted to have control over my life. And if there was many times when I would go out to the bars or I'd go out with my friends and they were all drinking and I didn't feel right, I didn't like where I was at, it would have been very easy for me to just drink alcohol and suppress that feeling of, I don't like where I'm at. And that's what happens a lot of times. But if you're not happy in the situation you're in, an emotion is just basically a guide, right? It's a compass telling you that you're not in the right direction. So if you're trying to mask the map, the compass of where you're going, then you're basically taking away from yourself. Because if you want to be financially free and you're not yet, don't mask the emotion that you don't like, right? Because that emotion is a motivator, right? So if you don't like where you're at, it's very easy to just mask it. But imagine if you didn't mask it and you use that emotion, but you pointed in the direction of becoming financially free. So all your energy is now pointed in the direction of where you want to go versus this is not going to help you get to where you want to go. There's absolutely no possible way by drinking alcohol or doing drugs will make you closer to becoming financially free. So it's just very simple. That is the foundation. If you understand, do not, drink alcohol, don't do drugs, don't suppress the feelings that you feel and use them to help you get to become financially free, right? So the second is do not keep up with the Joneses. So if you don't know what that phrase is, it's basically saying, because everybody else is, successful, everybody else is buying this thing, everybody else is doing this thing, you have to follow along because you didn't want to feel left out, right? Keeping up with the Joneses is the worst possible thing for your financial independence in your 20s by far. And I'll give you an example. When I first got out of college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and my girlfriend at the time, my ex-girlfriend, she actually was a manager at an ER, emergency room at a local hospital around here, and she was in charge of not only the doctors, but the residents who were becoming doctors. And I remember there was 2 specific residents that, she had to put on a lot of events, and we ended up having to go to a lot of these events, and I would meet a lot of these doctors and residents. And I remember these 2 specific residents, they, were both the top of their class, and they were gonna be great doctors, right? But the one doctor was always like complaining about how little they got paid. So if you know anything about residency, they don't really get paid too much money. I think it's like 40 or 50 grand, right? It's not much. But, and you have to do that for a number of years. And then by the time like you're 30, you start making some serious money. So the one doctor, he was always complaining, like he never had enough money. He always, was complaining that like all the doctors were making so much and he was making so little. And he basically would spend all of his money, and every single, he went into debt because he knew that one day he was going to be making all this money. So he was in debt, didn't know how to manage money because he was trying to keep up with, all the doctors ahead of him. And the other doctor, he basically was like, I'm going to be the best doctor I can be. I'm going to focus on, lowering my expenses, managing my money, understanding that this is my life, and like not worrying about what everybody else was, doing. He knew his path. He just stayed on his path, and they both became doctors within, I think, 2 years of, me meeting them. And the one doctor who was constantly, complaining about how much money they were making as residents, even as a doctor, he immediately started spending exactly as much as he was making. So nothing, like he was still going into debt, even though he was, quadrupled or, even 5 or 10 times making what he was making before. He still didn't know how to manage his money because his base of his foundation was, I need to keep up with everybody else. I have to prove to the external world that I'm validated by spending more money. Where the other doctor, literally, he didn't really change his lifestyle too much. Obviously, he got nicer things. He was able to do more things. He became a better doctor. And I ran into both of them recently. The one doctor is still hustling, he's still grinding, and he basically still lives in debt, even though he's making hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the other doctor is a multi-millionaire and gets to work whenever he wants. He works a couple times throughout the month, and he really enjoys his job, and he's becoming a better doctor. So like, what type of person do you want to be? Do you want to be the person that's always kind of grinding, always behind the wheels? Or do you want to be the person that manages their money appropriately when the foundation is strong? So now you can be the best version of yourself. So like, I would much rather get my medical advice from the doctor that doesn't need to be the doctor to make his bills at the end of the month. I definitely want to go see the doctor that knows how to manage his money. So he does what he does because he genuinely enjoys it. So he will make more money, and he is be able to manage the money. So do not keep up with the Joneses, right? That is the absolute worst. And a third thing is, do not gain excess fat. And you might say, like, Matt, why does it matter if I put fat on? Like, what does this have to do with you being financially free? Well, it has everything to do with it. Because if you put on extra fat, what is fat? Fat is basically just a store of energy that is harder to eliminate the older you get. And if we're in the game of becoming financially free and also being able to have the most energy possible and live a life that you're able to provide and be excited and wake up jumping out of bed, like, you need to not have excess fat. And it's very easy to get in a habit of eating poorly or not exercising in your 20s because, it's just kind of slowly, creeping up on you. You're not really taking too much concern about it. But I promise you, if you get in your 30s, a lot of people that I've known since I was, in my teens, right? They were super athletic, they were super fit, and then they kind of just let this creep up on them, and I didn't. So now the ability for them to lose the fat if they ever wanted to becomes so difficult versus if I ever, my maintenance is I'm pretty lean all the time, it doesn't really require much work for me to lose a couple extra pounds if I need to really tighten up. Whereas this is going to require a lot of work for anybody that does not take care of it in your 20s. Your energy becomes, spent on other things, right? We have more responsibilities as we get older. So this is the most important thing when it comes to your body. Do not gain excess fat because you're focusing on, I just need to make more money, right? Because if you gain excess fat, and there's other people that don't, right? I'm 36 years old, and when I meet most people, they're like, oh, I wouldn't have believed that you're 36 years old. And even with the energy that you have, I wouldn't believe that you're 36 years old. And that's the main thing. It's like, if you're competing with people in the marketplace, don't you want to have more energy? Don't you want to think that you would outpace somebody in the long term? If the game is, how do I make my life enjoyable for the rest of my life? Don't be so narrow-minded of eliminating, the things that are actually going to be important for your entire life. And if you can eliminate and avoid all of these things, right, I guarantee you will be much further ahead than 99.9% of all people. And then I gave you a tip at the beginning that there's one thing that will basically make sure that you eliminate all of these three things by this one. And this one is the most important thing. If you add this and do this properly, then all of these ones will get eliminated easily, right? And it becomes enjoyable, right? Because you might think, oh, well, this is no fun. But it becomes fun when you're with the right crew. So this is the secret. This is the secret to all of it. If you are fighting against people that want you to drink, want you to do drugs, want to keep you down, it's gonna be very hard to resist that. I did it. It was very difficult. I had a big motivator in the fact that my identity was attached to not being a person that drinks. But if you're not, that becomes very difficult if all your friends, all your people you're around are drinking alcohol, doing drugs. It's gonna be very difficult for you to resist it. Same when it comes with keeping up with the Joneses. If you're around people all the time that are always competing about who has the next nicest thing in your 20s, then you're around the wrong people, because those actually aren't the people if you actually want to be financially free. Like, I know a lot of people that were making a lot more money than me in my 20s, but they were always competing about, I need to buy the next nice thing. I need to buy the next nice thing. I need to basically, every time my income increases, I need to increase my lifestyle. And that is a terrible, terrible way to look at it, because you will never get out of the rat race if you continue to increase your lifestyle with the increase in income. Your lifestyle should be increasing, but it should be dramatic. It should not be dramatic. It should be, step by step. And I know a lot of people that make a lot of money, but they're almost 30 or in their 30s, but they have nothing to show for it, right? They're still in the hamster wheel. They still have to trade their time for money. And if you can't understand that you have to go up in, lifestyle step by step, but your income needs to go up 10 times as much as what your lifestyle. Do not try and keep up your lifestyle with what people are around you. So avoid that. And then also, if you're with the right people, they know this. So they're pushing you. They're like, why are you spending money on that? You don't need that yet, right? Don't do that, because it's gonna hurt you in the long term, right? That's a bad financial decision. You want people in your life to say that to you. I will say that to you. If you're making a bad decision, I will tell you that's a bad financial decision. And lastly, if you are gaining too much weight and you're not exercising, you're not taking care of yourself, you want people around you that are going to be going to the gym, that are going to be pushing you, that are going to be making you better, right? Because if you don't, the people that are in the group and the crew that are, if we compete with your crew, who do you think is going to win? It's very easy to tell, right? So this is just a kind of an understanding of, like, if you can avoid these three things, like, life becomes much easier when you don't have to try and swim upstream. If you do all these things, you're swimming upstream. I want you to swim downstream, make life easy, be in complete control, have financial freedom, be able to be fit, be able to be energized, be around the right people that motivate you, so you can be a productive person in society. You need to be you need to avoid all of these things so you can be significant, right? So you can feel fulfilled. Because all of these things will not make you fulfilled. But if you avoid these things and you work internally, the external will show up naturally, and then you avoid the, living a life like most people do and just not being happy. And at the end of the day, that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that we feel significant, have control, be around the people we love, take care of the people we love. And if you can do this, life becomes much easier. And I want the people in my crew that don't do these things, right? I want them to push me in other ways, but I don't want them to push me to, just spend more money just because they need to feel significant about some external thing. So know the game you're playing, eliminate these three things, and you will become financially free. So hope this video was helpful. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Go follow me over on Instagram. That's where all the fun stuff happens. Keep up with the daily activities of what's going on. MOVMATT. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace.